Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And I have our guest is Marcella Friel, and she's written the book Tap, Taste, Heal. I've got it with me right now. And so we're so excited to have you with us, Marcella. Tell us a little bit about what's in this book and what inspired you to write it.
Oh, well, what is in this book? Well, first of all, Chantel, thank you so much for hosting me. I'm really honored to be here.
Sure.
This book is for women who chronically struggle with emotional eating, binge eating, sugar addiction, yo-yo dieting, and chronic body shaming. And the women who might be interested in reading this book are a lot like the women who you work with, who tried a million diets, failed at a million diets, and who have really come to the point where they realize that restrictive dieting and punitive exercise are not the answers to their food and body love problems. So Tap, Taste, Heal comes out of my work with women where I help them heal the emotional roots of their food and body love struggles. And the tool that I use to do that is a tool called Emotional Freedom Techniques, or EFT, or tapping, which is kind of like a form of emotional acupuncture. And what we do with tapping is we fingertip tap on points that are at or near the ends of certain acupuncture meridians. And the tapping acts as kind of like a circuit breaker on the electromagnetic signal of distress that gets sent to the brain when, for example, you're freaking out about the food you just ate, or you're freaking out about the food that you want to eat, or you're going to eat, or you're freaking out about gaining a pound, or what have you. So the tapping helps to calm the brain, calm the nervous system, and having a calmer brain and calmer nervous system basically sets the stage, along with the intermittent fasting and some of the tools that you recommend with your women, Chantal. It sets the stage for women to come to a place of really profound peace that allows their body and their food habits to kind of find their naturally right size and naturally right expression. So that's basically what this book is about.
Hey guys, one of the things that will take your weight loss to the next level is coaching. You can either work one-on-one with me or one of our certified private coaches. If you'd like, you can schedule your free call. It's a 10-minute strategy call just to see if coaching is going to really take you to the next level. The other thing is listening to the audiobook. Listening to the audiobook and getting the video course that I've done, people are seeing dramatic results. If you just listen to the audiobook 30 minutes a day over and over and over again and get the video course, go to chantelrayway.com and check out the video course. You won't be sorry you did. I want to encourage listeners, if you're listening on our podcast, this particular episode, I'm going to ask you to go onto our YouTube channel, subscribe there, and go to Chantel Ray Way YouTube channel so you can watch it. Because I think a lot of people, when they hear about tapping, it's a little woo-woo, it's a little out there, people don't understand it. And so I would love for you to show us a real life example. So let's just pretend that right now, I'm at work. I'm completely stressed out. My first thing that I want to do is run to a pan of brownies. I want to start eating a bag of chips because I'm just so stressed. And food is a go-to for someone and they want to run to that to get it. So what would be, show us what does someone do when they're doing that tapping will help with?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So, okay, you're sitting at your desk and you're stressed. And maybe that stress is partly a little bit of boredom, a little bit of restlessness, as well as like pressure. So you've got this whole stress cocktail going on and you want to reach for the brownies in the office break room, right? The leftover brownies from the birthday party or whatever. So the first thing you do is tune in to the distress and gauge on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most extreme. It's like when you go to the doctor, how bad is the pain on a scale of 1 to 10. So you kind of get a sense on a scale of 1 to 10 how stressed out you are. Okay, let's say I'm an 8. I'm full on. So you start by just tuning into the distress. And then with tapping, we begin tapping on the side of the hand. Now, if you're listening, this is the fleshy part of the outside of the hand where your Wonder Woman would like smash through a pile of bricks, right? So you tap with the fingers of the other hand on the side of the hand. And you say, even though I'm sitting at my desk and I'm feeling completely stressed out and I want to binge on those brownies, I deeply love and accept myself. And you can say that 3 times. And then after that, you tap on the points. And for listeners, I'll just say the points aloud. The top of the head, the inside of the eyebrow, the temple of the eye, basically. It's actually the bone right in front of the temple of the eye. Good. Yeah. Tap along with me, Chantel. That's great. Under the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, the collarbone point, and then we have a bra strap point. And some people add other points as well, but those are the points that I work with. So you tap in sequence. Actually, you can tap out of sequence. It doesn't matter. But you can just tap and say the reminder phrase, I'm really stressed out. I'm so stressed out sitting at my desk. I'm under all this stress. And you can name what the stress is. You could say, you know, I feel all this pressure. I feel bored, whatever the stress is. And then you just say, and I really want to go binge on those brownies. I'm feeling stressed out and I want to go binge on the brownies. Then you can take a nice deep breath.
I'm really like, I feel like I don't know if it's the tone of your voice or it's the tapping, but I already feel a lot calmer. Isn't that wild?
Yes, it is.
I mean, I really like, I feel like I'm just have more zen, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. So sometimes that happens. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes what can happen is you can have a spike. You can go up. Like your stress can really, if you've got some subconscious thing going on that is underneath your stress that's ready to come to the surface, it can get more intense. So anyway, I'll just finish this up very quickly. So you can keep tapping like that. And then at a certain point, you can tap in a positive statement. Even though I want to binge on these brownies, I choose instead to breathe and wait it out. I choose instead to nourish myself with something that will really nourish me. You know, I choose instead to just love myself where I'm at. And it's also good to address what we call secondary gain. So like, even if I do binge, even if I go for the brownies, I'm still going to love myself anyway, and I'm going to forgive myself. Because, you know, I know in your work, Chantal, you say you work with women who have never dieted, you know, thin women who have never dieted. And for me, as a thin woman who's never dieted, I don't give myself a hard time when I eat a brownie or a piece of cake. Like it might not feel good, and I might think, oh, tomorrow I don't want to do that. But I don't put myself through the gauntlet that other women do. So even if I do, I'm going to love myself anyway, right?
Yeah, what I love about the tapping is that one of the things that I believe people who have a very dysfunctional relationship with food is, like you said, what they do is they deprive themselves. So they say, let's say that same woman who is like, I'm so stressed out at work, I really need a brownie. But now she's, quote, dieting. So now what she's doing is, as soon as she's dieting, now she's getting a pile of carrots, a pile of fruit, and she's getting some healthy choices now, or she's eating rice cakes. But she's still, instead of, one of my favorite quotes is, you need to sit with unease to cure your disease. And what that means is like, isn't that so good? Like you have to sit there and go, okay, I'm stressed out at work right now. If you still went and you grabbed for the rice cakes, even though that's healthy, your brain is connecting to go, okay, I'm not physically hungry at all. I just finished lunch, so I'm not even hungry.
Okay.
But I want the brownie because I feel like that's going to soothe me or comfort me. And instead I can now go, okay, like I already felt calmer, which is so wild. I mean, I will tell you, the tapping idea does seem a little woo-woo and out there, but then when you actually do it and you're like, wow, I feel different. Mm-hmm. Like I literally feel calmer when I'm doing that.
That's a really interesting point, what you're mentioning, that that decision point. What did you say? You have to feel unease to heal your disease? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you have to sit with unease to heal your disease.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. And that is precisely where tapping can come in, because sitting with unease is much easier said than done. The trick there is to be able to like arrest and acknowledge, like, okay, I am really uncomfortable. I really want to go eat. And if you can stop yourself right at that moment and start tapping, like, I want to eat the entire refrigerator, you know, then you can, you have a chance to make another choice. I don't know if this is something your audience is aware of. You probably mentioned this to them, but, you know, food cravings are intimately connected to the fight or flight response, which is what our brains do when we are perceiving ourselves to be under attack or in a traumatic situation. And so foods that are like high carbohydrates, high fats, all these high calorie, nutrient deficient foods, you know, the processed foods that are binge foods, those foods, our biology perceives them as like a quick source of energy to get us through the situation. You see? So I have to eat that cookie. I have to eat that brownie. I have to eat that piece of cake. I have to have that ice cream. But that whole scenario really has its roots in the fight or flight response in the brain. I mean, there's other things as well, but that's where tapping can really help you on so many levels, because that fight or flight response might be a stressful condition at work, or the fight or flight response can be a deeply subconscious, like say, voice of your mother's voice saying, you're too fat, right? I mean, I have so many clients whose mothers put them on diets when they were 8 years old, and their mothers told them they were fat. And they look at themselves as 8-year-old girls and say, my goodness, I was not fat at all. I don't know where people got this idea. But then, you know, something like that, that's a little trauma. When mom takes you to Weight Watchers, when you're 10, 12 years old, makes you sit in that chair and talk about points, that can set up a stage, that can set the stage for a lifetime of identifying oneself as fat. Do you see? So then there's a whole process. Then you start to lose the weight and people say, oh, you look great. And then it's like, oh, wait a second. No, this isn't who I am. I'm a fat girl. I'm not supposed, and then it comes back on, you know? So tapping can help with all of that. It can help with just like the momentary craving. It can help with the deepest levels of trauma and, you know, negative self-talk and self-limiting beliefs. It's very, very powerful.
Hey guys, I wanted to tell you I'm offering a free weight loss virtual Bible study. Now is the perfect time to focus on understanding true hunger and fullness and learn what the Bible has to say about it. All you have to do is go to chantelrayway.com/Bible study. After you sign up, you'll receive a 6-week Bible study video that you can watch on your own, or you can get a small group of people and do it together. That's chantelrayway.com/Bible study for your free 6-week Bible study course. Yeah, and I think there's so much truth behind the phrase, quote, stress eating, because stress and the hormones that it unleashes and the effects of kind of those sugary, crunchy comfort foods push people towards, you know, eating when they're not hungry. So I think that you have to have, you have to build new techniques, right? So this is like another technique, because what you're doing is you have to squash the technique of, it's like a trigger. So it's like, okay, I have this trigger. And one of the things I love to say is that it's kind of like this horrible circle, right? So you diet, you go on a diet, and then you feel deprived. Then you overeat, then you feel guilty. Then you go back on another diet. And it's literally this circle going over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really trying to figure out, okay, like to me, that's the number one thing that I learned from interviewing all these thin women, is that they never, ever put one bite of food in their mouth if they weren't physically hungry. If they weren't physically hungry, they just didn't eat. Now, when they were stressed, I'd say, what's your go-to? And they would say, oh, I'd go for a walk, or, oh, I get a massage, or, oh, I would call a friend. And so it's literally taking that trigger to go, I'm feeling bad right now. I need to now do something. And I love that having the tapping is just an added tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you were describing that horrible cycle, the place where I cut that cycle, where I cut the link, is the feeling deprived. And
Yeah.
I would actually almost put that before the dieting.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you look at the feeling deprived, okay, what is that? Like, what is the root of feeling deprived? Why do I feel deprived? For me, in working with a lot of my clients, that can be like, I feel deprived with love. You know, I didn't get the love that I needed as a child. I don't really believe in the core of my being that it's okay for me even to just be. I don't believe that there's enough for me. Like these core beliefs that took root in early life can be the very beliefs that drive, uh, you know, the seeking of a diet as the solution. Do you see? So in the work that I do, I go way underneath the diet. Like we don't do dieting, right? Forget about it. Dieting is so problematic for so many reasons. So, but who is it? Who is this person who feels like she needs to diet? Why does she feel like she needs to diet? And once we get that, okay, then the food, then actually what does happen is precisely what you're saying. As women start to heal those core wounds, then yeah, they just eat when they're hungry. They just eat when they're hungry. And they can walk into an office party and see a whole tray of chips and nachos and cake and all that, and it doesn't pull anymore. They just go right past it and they go to their nuts and cheese or whatever, you know, like the eating becomes much more sane.
Yeah, and I mean, there's studies to show that 95% of people who lose weight on diets will regain it back, and 2/3 of those people will end up at a weight higher than when they started out. So it goes like this. It's literally, if you're watching this, it goes, okay, I start on a diet, I lose weight, I gain a little more. I lose weight, I gain a little more. I lose weight, I gain a little more. And I have this great chart in one of my books that shows that, because what happens is, I love to tell this story about a girlfriend of mine who I just saw probably about a year ago. And she had gained, I don't even know, I'm going to estimate like from the like it was so shocking that I think that when I saw her, I literally did like a double take. Like I didn't even realize that this was the same person, because it had been about probably 6 to 8 months since I'd seen her last. And so I was like taken back about how much weight she had gained. And she's like, are you still doing the intermittent fasting? You look great. I said, yeah, I am. And then she said, well, I already know myself. She's like, what, the only thing that works for me is the Atkins or low carb diet. And I wanted, and I said this to her. I really did. I said, you're heavier now than I've ever seen you. So what you're saying is this diet is the only one that works for me. But what's happened is this, in your mind, you go, that diet works for me because I lose weight, then you gain more. Then you lose weight, then you're gaining more. Then you're losing weight, then you're gaining more. So does this diet actually work for you? But in their mind, it does. In her mind, that diet works for her. And she can't connect the dots that diet actually made her gain weight. In her mind, she only saw that it made her lose weight. Can you talk about that at all?
Well, that sounds like it has a lot of layers to it. Number one, it sounds like there might be a diet addiction going on there. You know, like dieting in itself can be an addiction. So, you know, she might have some kind of tunnel vision around that. The other piece of, and especially those kinds of really restrictive diets, you know, they don't work for so many reasons, but a big reason that people gain and lose and gain and lose, what you're talking about, metabolically, diets wreak havoc on the metabolism. If you start to restrict calories You know, you restrict your caloric intake, the body basically goes into starvation mode and it holds on to every single gram of fat that is going to be in your body because that's your reserves. So if you're not feeding your body says, all right, I better hold on to this fat because I have no idea like when or if I'm ever going to really eat again. So I'm just going to hold on. And of course, that metabolic situation has its corollary in the emotional stress of feeling restricted, like I can't eat this, I have to eat that, I can only eat this, I can only eat it this time of day. And that's exhausting. And then there's, I would say too, there's a kind of spiritual, you know, a spiritual component to that. I mean, if you are a child of that which is greater than your own being, if you're a child of the divine, you are beautiful just the way you are, no matter how you are. And so this whole, you know, and again, this gets into core beliefs, right? So this whole idea that, you know, it's not okay for me to be me. It's not okay for me to have this body. I have to diet. I have to, you know, the panic about that. I mean, the whole thing is just deadly. So in my Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy, which is the way that I work with women primarily, we certainly talk about, you know, spiritual forgiveness and we talk about emotional forgiveness, but there's also a piece here of metabolic forgiveness, of forgiving the body for gaining the weight, forgiving the body for having these yo-yo cravings. And we work not only with tapping, but we work also with, you know, principles of holistic nutrition and holistic medicine and so on to help the body reset and come back and boost the metabolism so that it can burn fat and, you know, utilize nutrients simultaneously as we're working on the emotional piece to release and forgive and liberate yourself from the traumas that have kept you stuck in this pattern.
Yeah. And I think you need to give yourself permission. When I tell people is to eat whatever you want, because, you know, before I stopped dieting, I always considered chocolate chips or brownies, you know, kind of my trigger food. So I never kept it in the house and I felt like I had no control. And so I would just eat it all. And so, cause I never let myself have it. But then once I did, I just went crazy.
Yeah.
So now I keep all sorts of chocolates, desserts in my house, and I don't think twice about it. So I know that since I know that the food is always going to be there, I just really have given myself permission to eat what I want. Now I do try to buy things that are, you know, I am very big on chemicals, so I'm not putting a ton of chemicals in my body, but I will eat organic chips all day long. Or if I want to make, you know, homemade brownies with, you know, all natural ingredients, I'm going to eat the brownie. And so, because I know that if I put, you know, too much bad stuff in my body, I'm not going to feel good. But if I want chips, I eat chips and I don't deprive myself of anything. Yeah. And by me allowing myself to do that, and I'm never beating myself up. So talk a little bit about, you know, I've heard you say that a couple times of like, what is some of the self-talk I'm going to say to myself when I say, okay, I did overdo it, right? Like I did overdo it on the chips. I had a couple too many brownies. What is the self-talk I'm now saying to myself so that I'm not like, oh my gosh, now I got to get deprived again?
Yeah, right. Getting back into the cycle.
I don't know about you guys, but I've been doing a ton of cooking lately. And I've been having so many new recipes. Go to chantelrayway.com/free recipes to get the best kale dressing recipe you'll ever have, the dairy-free artichoke dip that you will love for completely free. I also want to give you my entire free smoothie book that has the best smoothies. One of the things that can help you lose weight is just to replace one of your meals with an amazing smoothie. So if you're eating 2 meals, just make one of them a smoothie. You can get my free amazing recipe book at chantelrayway.com/free recipe. And our protein shakes are amazing as well. And right now they're 30% off. Go to chantelrayway.com, click on store, and use podcast for the 30% off your protein shake.
Well, you know, you said something really interesting there, Chantal. You said, I know that if I eat too much of these things, I'm not going to feel good. And what I heard in what you said is that that knowledge, I call it anticipatory regret. You know, like I know if I eat too much of this, it's going to feel really bad. And that, I don't want that. I don't want that feeling as much as I want to feel better. Do you see? Like when we're in the throes of addiction, we can't make that kind of a clear choice. We say, I don't care if I feel bad, I'm going to go for it anyway, right? That, again, that fight or flight kind of panic. So that's really a beautiful awareness right there. That's, you know, that's important to have. When my women relapse, you know, when they go back into their old food habits, you know, we don't punish, we don't blame, we don't condemn, we don't beat up, we don't do any of that stuff. But what I will do with them is go back and kind of walk them back through the situation and say, okay, where exactly, if you kind of rewind it like a video and you play it back frame by frame by frame, where exactly was that decision point where you made the decision to binge? And a lot of times it's a blackout kind of thing. You know, like, oh, I don't care. I just blacked out and I just went for it. And so a lot of my work that I do with women comes from my own experience in 12-step recovery. And in the 12-step world, we talk about the subtle insanity before you pick up the addictive substance, the subtle insanity before the first drink. So we'll go back and we'll just really look and say, okay, where was that twist or that decision, that kind of not perverse, but the kind of twisted decision. Even though you know it's not good, you did it anyway, right? So we go back to that point, and if we can find it, then right there, we use the EFT tapping. We start to tap, even though that's what happened, and that's what I decided, and that's what I thought, and it led me to do this, I love myself anyway. And so what I find with women is that as we do that over time, it's sort of like what you were saying about the weight graph, and you were making this kind of a gesture. What will happen is it starts to go down the other way. So it's not a straight line from point A to point B, like I go from bingeaholic to completely clean with my food. But there's a path where you might still, quote unquote, fall off the wagon, but you don't fall as far, and you don't beat yourself up as much. And you have more clarity about what's actually going on. And consequently, you're able to forgive yourself a little bit more. And then it just kind of gradually starts to shift into a place where it really becomes a non-issue.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been amazing. I've really enjoyed my time with you. Can you tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you?
Yeah, well, you can follow me on Facebook, Tapping with Marcella. You can follow me on Instagram at Women, Food, and Forgiveness. My website is marcellafriel.com, and the program that I've been mentioning is the Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy, which is, it's a one-year online mentorship program for women who want to achieve holistic, long-term, sustainable solutions to their food and body love struggles. And it's a big path, it's a big commitment. You know, if you're ready to do the work, reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I want to say that her name, it looks like it's Marcella, but it's Marcella. So it's Marcella. Well, this has been great. Thanks so much for being with us. And you guys stay put. We're going to have another episode coming up in just a minute. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.